Hello, YouTube. I hope you're having a fabulous week. I know I haven't uploaded in a few days. I just haven't really had any. I actually had something to talk about, but I'm not ready to talk about that yet. I don't know if I'm gonna ever talk about it. But this one I wanted to talk about is, and I want you to like and subscribe and comment below. We're going to talk about the pros and cons of being a girlfriend versus a wife. Yes, needs to be said, needs to be talked to, because the black community, the problem with it is a lot of black women do not set a standard for themselves. You end up having 2.5, 3, 4, and 5 kids for a man that don't even want you. He's living with you because he wants a place to stay, and then his girlfriend has become a name of endearment. It's become something to be proud of, and it's nothing to be proud of. Like, at the end of the day, it's nothing wrong with dating, but then when you take on the role as a wife, which is cooking, cleaning, like Medea would say, cleaning, when you're doing all those things, raising children and all of this, and he hasn't made you his wife, you look like a clown in his circus. You really do. And what sparked this conversation today is I was talking to someone. She's actually an older lady, and it was just shocking at the things she was saying because she's older. Now, one thing about my mom, not saying that she's perfect, but she always led by example. My mother's not a hypocrite. So my mother stayed a virgin till she was married, and she always say every day, your father chased me, your father chased me. And she's right, because at the end of the day, you don't want to chase a man, force a man, make a man live with you, and in the end of the day, what did you get out of it beside what? Kids and a headache? It's not worth it. And so I wanted to talk about a few scenarios to really get you to see. Now, some of you may be watching this like, oh, it's just a title, and you're absolutely right, it's a title. But for me personally, I rather, first of all, I've never shacked up, because that's what it is, and I would never do that because it's just too many people I know and too many scenarios where men get comfortable, specifically black men, and they use you for a place to stay. Let's keep it real. Like, a lot of these men, they not committed. They want a place to stay. And so a woman that's simple and don't have wisdom and don't have self-esteem, at the end of the day, she gonna feel like, oh, okay, no. And Love and Hip Hop is a perfect example. So I don't know if y'all remember the scenario with Erica and Samantha Mendeecees and Yandy. Mendeecees denied ever being with Erica, right? She claimed that they was a couple. She said they was living together, they had a lease together and all this stuff, right? He, from jail, recorded an audio saying that they were never together. Now, the downside, number one, of being a girlfriend is you cannot prove that you was ever somebody's girlfriend. Pictures do not mean you are the girlfriend. Living together does not mean you are the girlfriend. Having children doesn't mean that you were the girlfriend. As disturbing as that sounds, yeah. You could have 2. I know somebody right now with 3 kids, and they were never in a relationship. Because when you ask her, did he ask you to be his girlfriend? She says no. I said, so how can you assume that y'all were ever in a relationship? She said, because we live together, we have these kids. Like, she don't live with him now, but she, she got her own place. But she really thought that they was a couple because he led her on. And then he moved on. By now, I stopped talking to her. She was a whole fool. But her whole life was centered around her kid's father, and it was really sad. Very intelligent girl, very ambitious. She was like the same age as me. She's like a year younger. But I feel like you got older women that's like that too. That's just naive. That's just like And that's what's wrong with the black community. We have a lot of women that's smart, like degrees and stuff, but they don't really have smarts when it comes to dudes. And we've all fall short. We all, whatever. But things like courting, if he doesn't court you, if he doesn't pursue you, those are all signs that you're not his girlfriend. You have so many girls that's like, oh yeah, that's my man, that's my man. No, he's not. He never asked you to be his girlfriend. So how do you figure that y'all are together? And then for her 25th birthday, this was years ago, she was telling him like, yo, I want a ring. I want some jewelry. So her birthday comes up and he gives her a ring. She's like, oh, what is this? He says to her, what the fuck you think it is? And she's all happy on Facebook, and I'm like, did he propose? Did he say, will you be my wife? She's like, no, he ain't say that, but look at the ring. And I'm like, sweetheart, that's not a engagement ring, that's a promise ring. And she swore everybody was hating on her, and she put it up on Facebook, and like, she's like, oh, 1 week later, she's like, oh, we broke up, da 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 da. I'm like, but he wasn't gonna marry you. He never said, will you be my wife? So how you just assume that was an engagement ring? Like, it was just, I felt sad for her. I felt embarrassed for her, because if you was never even really his girlfriend, why would he propose to you? Like, it's just like delusion. And it's very common. She's not the only one. It's very common. I've met a lot of people who said their parents was never together, whatever. Their father never chased their mom. You got scenarios where the mom chasing the father and stuff. Like, what? Make it make sense. Like, just like people who got like 20 siblings. The father wasn't with all those women. He was having sex with them, but there's no, and I was just thinking about it a few minutes ago. A lot of problems could be avoided minus sex. Think about it. A lot of crimes are committed, as far as what they call it, crime of passion. All those crimes is sexual, something sexual. Somebody having sex with somebody. Somebody not keeping their private parts to themselves. Yeah. You could avoid a lot of drama. And, I was saying to someone, I was like, Tia Mowry, now her life isn't perfect. She's divorced, but she kept herself till marriage. How many of us, if we kept ourselves till marriage, you could avoid a lot of drama. I'm happy that not only am I the only, the child, but my mom stayed with one guy. I'm happy about that. I'm happy that she kept herself before marriage. I'm happy that my mom had a standard and wasn't desperate and didn't go after a man who didn't want her. I'm happy for all of that. Because I had did I have a perfect childhood? No. But I don't have a lot of the traumas that people have because my mom had a standard for herself. And that's what it boils down to. If you love yourself enough to have a standard, a lot of the problems will be avoided. Now, we all make mistakes. But if you could see beforehand, it ain't going to work out. Like for me, I knew that it wasn't going to work out. So when I was pregnant, I knew I did not want to be with my son's father. And I lived a very peaceful life. Thank God. Not saying that, you shouldn't try to work things out because you're not married. I'm not saying that. But if you know in your heart you don't want to be with somebody, don't. Them. But, yeah, so the cons of being a girlfriend. When you are living with a man, let's say y'all not even living with a man. So I know a scenario of a friend of mine, her father passed away some years ago, and the last 7 years of his life, he had a girlfriend that he was living with. Do you know that when he died, everything went to her mother, the wife? That girlfriend that he had of 7 years, you know what she got? Nothing. You get nothing, ladies. You get nothing. And some people might be watching this saying, oh, it's not all about money. Listen, if I'm cooking and cleaning and I'm doing all of this, and guess what? You got to be a nurse, financial analyst, because you know they don't know how to keep a dollar. So you got to be all these things for a man. And then to not get married, and then when he dies, you're not getting a penny. You're not getting nothing. You at the funeral looking retarded, and then you getting introduced as, oh, this was his kid's mom. This was his girlfriend. And like, I'll never forget this guy. He was my coworker's brother, and he tried to holler at me. And I'll never forget this phone conversation because I laughed so hard. He was like, I don't know what we was talking about. And he was like, oh, my grandmother's boyfriend. And I said, what did you just say? Because I'm 21 at this time. I had never heard anybody say that. I was like, what did you just say? He's like, my grandmother's boyfriend. Not mother. Because mother's boyfriend sounds like mama cheating. I don't know, it just sounds weird after a certain age. It don't sound right. It don't sound right. Like, really think about it. Really think about it. My grandmother's boyfriend. That sound like she robbing the cradle. Grandma ain't supposed to have no boyfriend. You know what I'm saying? Like, it don't sound right. It don't. I'm 34, and just like I seen it on Instagram a few months ago, the girl said it, and I agree with her. She said, I am too old to be someone's girlfriend. Like, it sounds stupid. Girlfriend. You somebody's girlfriend. That's a term people in high school say that. Oh, that's my girl. That's my shorty. You get my age or older, what the fuck is we doing? And that's why I say friends with benefits or wife and husband. Like, I really feel like that. Like, the whole dating thing for 10, 20 years, I'll never understand it. Like, I'm not accepting that, you know. And also, I wanted to throw this out there. My ex, I think I told you about my military ex or whatever. So I trained myself to listen to a man. I think I told you this. Always train yourself to listen to a man, because they always tell on themselves, right? So my ex used to say stuff like, oh, when we live together, when we live together, when we live together. I always told him I don't believe in shacking. He's like, well, I'm not going to marry someone that I don't live with. Okay. Do you not know, ladies? This man, I broke up with him. This is my ex, right? I broke up with him Labor Day weekend 2017. Do you not know that he got married October 2018? So either he was with this girl the whole time, and then he was telling me before I broke up with him, oh, if you leave me, I don't know what to do. Cap was all cap. Because I'm not saying you can't move on with your life, but that's a little bit too fast. Like, come on, bro. And a month after we broke up, he blocked me. I didn't hear from him for a long time. I actually seen his cousin in the street, and she was like, oh, Courtney girlfriend. I'm like, he didn't tell you we broke up? Mind you, this is like before Christmas time. It's cold outside. I'm like, he didn't tell you we broke up? So he didn't even tell his family that we were broken up, I guess, until he got... So I know when he got married, they must have been like, well, where did she come from? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he just... What? Like, you got married? But the point that I'm trying to make is, I'm pretty sure that if they did live together... First of all, he was in the army, so they weren't living together, right? And then he married her. I remember he said he was going to come out the army in 2020. So he's been out for a while. He got married when they were still in the army. But the point that I'm trying to get at is that he did not shack up with this girl. He did not live with her, none of that. Okay? And even if they did, let's say hypothetically they did, look how quickly she got the ring, right? I knew I didn't want him. I don't feel no ways. I'm happy for him. But you see, I set my standard. His plan for me was to be a shack up baby mama. That was his plan for me. There was no plan of marriage or anything. That was my plan. I said, I don't believe in shacking up, right? And so even him getting married is a little shocker because I didn't know that that was his mentality. I thought his mentality was shacking up because that's how he was raised. He said how his mom's, like his brother's father, they have different fathers. His father passed away, and then his brother's father is his mother's boyfriend of over 20 years. I said, what? They've been together 20 years and they not married? Like, that doesn't make sense. Because, again, when he passes away, she not going to get nothing. No pension. You don't get nothing. Nothing but kids and tears and memories. That's what you have. Like, So I was thinking, well, maybe he feels that because I was a single mom, I don't because that has an effect on you, how you're raised. It does have an effect on you. So I was thinking, well, maybe he didn't have plans to marry me because in his opinion, he feels like, well, you're a single mother. You don't just, some people think like that. Like, you're a single mom, so why should I marry you and you're a single mom, right? And that's his opinion. He never said that, but that's what I'm guessing because his mother was a single mom when she met, his brother's father. She was a single mom, and then they became a family, but they're not married. Some men, they are very judgmental like that. They feel like, oh, you a single mom, they'll make a baby with you and live with you and will never marry you because when they met you, you was a single mom. Weird, I know, it doesn't make sense, but you see how he got married. He got married October 2018, y'all. So all that stuff he was saying about, oh, I gotta live with you to marry you and stuff, it was all cap. He was just saying because that's how he felt about me. And I'm happy I didn't fall in love or none of that because that would have been real hurtful to me. Like, what? You got married a year after I broke up with you? Really? Really? But it just shows you, like, when a man talks, it's good to listen. I'm happy I listened to him and I knew what was in his heart. Yeah. So imagine if I was to agree to that. Imagine if I was to, okay, we would have still been together and I still would have been the living girlfriend because that's the plans that he had for my life. I probably would have been pregnant or having his baby because obviously if you're living with somebody, you're not going to use protection. That's just realities of life. Babies come out of a living situation unless if you're on birth control, but that's the plans that he had for my life. That's not the plans I have for my life. Yes, I made a mistake. I have one child, but I do believe that God, if it's meant to be, he will send me somebody and marry me despite my mistake. I'm not doomed for life because I have one kid, so, but imagine if I was to fall for that. Imagine if I was like, okay, but the chick that he married, I'm pretty sure that they was not living together because, like I said, he was in the army. So they didn't spend no time living together. And even if they did, they got married 1 year after I broke up with him. I broke up with him September. When he got with her, I don't know, but they got married October the following year. That's quick. That means that he knew what he wanted and he got what he wanted. And he said it how, and I was like, I asked him one question through LinkedIn because I really don't care. I'm happy for him. I'm very happy for him. There was things about him that I just couldn't get with, the lying and some other stuff about him. I just couldn't get with it. But, it's just funny how he always was talking about living together and shacking, but yet he got married. Like, he's one of the people that I would not expect to get married, to be honest. But you know what he told me? He said, oh, because I was like, how you get married to her that quickly? And we broke up September 2017. Like, I remember it was Labor Day weekend. You was looking at girls' asses at a party. Our old coworker had a party, and he was just looking at ass. And I'm like, damn, you want to take a picture? Like, that weekend was just so interesting. And that's the weekend I broke up with him. Face to face, I'm like, you deserve a girl that's going to be all over you. I'm a water sign. I'm a Pisces. When we're with you, we with you. Like, we're very affectionate people. And if we not up on you sexually, physically, if we not kissing up on you, we don't like you. So that's when I realized, like, I can't be in a relationship like this. This ain't fair to him. This ain't fair to me. So I let him know that. I'm like, I'm losing attraction for you, and it's not fair to you. I release you. And he used to say, oh, I'd be so upset. No, he was not no upset. He moved on. Probably was with her while he was with me. I don't know. And he got married. But one thing he said was, oh, it didn't go that far. He said he proposed to her 11 months. What he said? 11 months after they dated. So 11 months, that means he had to get with her. I broke up with him September. He had to get with her October or before that, or probably while he was with me, because he said he proposed. So what, you was engaged for a month? Nobody's engaged for a month. Nobody. So you proposed after 11 months, which means you was with her while you was with me. There's no way. Because nobody's engaged for a month. Because let's say if he didn't cheat on me, let's say if he got with this girl in October, because I can't, like, how do you get into I'm not talking about having sex, getting into a full-blown relationship after being in a relationship. How do you get into a full-blown relationship that quick? How do you heal that quick? Don't you have to date and get to know the person and then be like, okay, we together? Like, isn't there a process for that? That was the mistake me and him made. We felt like, oh, we knew each other from children, from teen years, and we made it official over the phone. We made it official in January 2017, but we didn't have like our first official date until March. We did stuff backwards. We didn't have our first official date until March, and I let him meet my son by June, which technically is too quick, but I was looking at it like, oh, it's 6 months, whatever. I let him meet my son in June, and then by September I was done with him. Like, it was 1, 2, 3, quick. And yeah, but I learned, get to know a person first, which I did that with my last ex, and I have no regrets or whatever. But with my recent ex, he didn't meet my son until 9 months in, and we were seeing each other all the time. He wasn't in the military, he works locally. But yeah, so I definitely took my time in introducing my son and stuff like that. But yeah, I said all that to say this is, at the end of the day, the stuff he was saying was capped. Talking about, oh, I gotta live with somebody for a long amount of time before I get married. He obviously didn't do that with her, and he married her a year after I left him. So when you have your standards, keep your standards, ladies. Imagine if I was desperate. Imagine if I would have lowered my standards, right? Imagine if I would have lowered my standards and lived with him. He probably would have never married me. Probably. Because that's what he was saying. He always would say, when we live together, when we start living together. He never said when we get married. Always listen to a man's vocabulary words. And that's how you know where you stand with him. Also, the last thing I wanted to say is, a man will always throw up in your face, you're not my wife, you're not my wife. Men say that, and you can't get mad. And that's the pro of being a wife, because even if it don't work out, he can't deny you. A man could easily go around and say, oh, I don't got nobody, I'm single, right? But the beautiful thing about marriage, when you get married, that's on public record. You could look up a guy's name on Google and see if he's married or not. So when women say, oh, I didn't know, bitch, it's Google. It's no excuse. Like, how do you, especially when you have children, how do you not Google a man? I Google everybody. I Google friends. I Google family. I don't know you. I don't know you. You know, when you have children, you have to Google people, right? And when you Google people, if they're married, it's going to come up on public record that they're married. Now, once you find out, you move accordingly or whatever. But there's no excuse. There's no such thing as I didn't know. It's 2023. You better FBI that motherfucker. You better go on his social medias. You better dig and find out. There's no such thing as I didn't know. No, that's not acceptable anymore. You knew, you just didn't want to know. And yes, those are my thoughts, ladies I'm talking to specifically. Do not settle and be no girlfriend, because these guys that try to talk you into shacking and stuff, they're gonna get married. I just told you my scenario. You know, if you don't believe in real life, look at TV. How many women be with, especially in the black community, always being with a nigga 10, 15 years, and then he go marry somebody else. And then y'all want to talk about something, it's just a piece of paper. Yeah, and guess what? When he dies, you're not going to get a dime. I'd rather get paid. Give me the pension. Give me everything. I deserve it. And those are my thoughts.